Chapter 23. Allison stood in the center of the circle, her body trembling, breath coming in short, ragged gasps. The wound on her arm was still bleeding, but she didn't care. It was her turn to fight. Her eyes locked onto Ben, who lay motionless at the edge of the arena, too weak to speak. His body was covered in wounds, but his gaze spoke louder than words. "Don't do this." But Allison knew she had no choice. If she refused, Ben would be executed in the most brutal way imaginable. She swallowed hard, trying to calm the pounding in her chest, but it was useless. The monkey mascot was still playing his role as the sadistic host, standing there with a camera in his hands. "Feast your eyes, dear audience," he called out theatrically. "Our brave little girl has finally stepped into the ring. Does she have what it takes to save her friend? Or will she be the next star of the show?" Across the circle, Allison's opponent stepped forward. It was the wolf mascot. He towered over her, holding a massive axe that gleamed under the harsh spotlight. Seeing the wolf, Ben was immediately reminded of the time he and Logan had been hunted by the pig and wolf mascots. He wondered, was this the same wolf from before? Not that it mattered. Either way, this was bad news for Allison. The match was clearly unfair. Are there any other mascots? Allison swallowed hard, hands empty. There was no weapon in sight. She scanned the ground, but there was nothing she could use to defend herself. "Oh, almost forgot." The monkey laughed, then waved toward the chicken mascot standing at the edge of the arena. "Give the girl something, yeah? We need a fair fight, at least by our standards." The chicken mascot strolled over casually and tossed something onto the ground in front of Allison. It was an old crowbar, long, rusted, and unevenly weighted. Heavy and awkward, but still better than fighting barehanded. Allison picked it up with shaky hands. The weight nearly threw her off balance, but she steadied herself. This crowbar was much longer than the small one she'd seen before, almost as tall as she was. She looked up, meeting the gaze of the wolf's grinning mask. "All right, folks," the monkey shouted, his voice rising with excitement. "The fight starts now." The wolf attacked instantly. His axe swung through the air with enough force to cleave her in half. Allison frantically jumped back, barely dodging as the blade slammed into the ground, cracking the concrete. Dust exploded into the air, thick with the metallic scent of blood and sweat. Allison knew she couldn't win with brute force. Her opponent was too big, too strong. Her only hope was speed and strategy. The wolf attacked again, swinging his axe in a brutal horizontal arc. Allison ducked, feeling the sharp wind of the blade slicing just inches above her head. She tried to counter, swinging her crowbar at his legs, but the wolf was too fast. He jumped back, chuckling darkly. "You're slow," he rasped through his mask. The long crowbar gave her some reach, almost like a spear, but it still wasn't enough. Allison didn't respond. She focused on her next move, gripping the crowbar tightly and searching for an opening. But before she could act, the wolf struck again, faster, more aggressive. His axe clashed against her crowbar with a deafening clang, nearly ripping it from her hands. The force of the impact vibrated through her arms, leaving them numb. The wolf pressed harder, forcing Allison backward until she nearly lost her footing. "You don't stand a chance," he sneered, sounding amused. "Why don't you just give up? It'll be quicker for you. Besides, you're not the one who has to die." Allison seized the opportunity. While the wolf was busy taunting her, she kicked his knee as hard as she could. He stumbled, giving her just enough time to strike. She swung the crowbar, slamming it into the side of his head. The wolf let out a furious snarl as his mask cracked, blood dripping from the wound beneath. He wiped the blood away, growling, "You're gonna regret that." "Oh, look at that, folks. Our little survivor actually managed to land a hit on our big bad wolf. Could this be the turning point?" The monkey mascot cheered, voice dripping with exaggerated enthusiasm. The fight raged on. Allison kept dodging, but the wolf was getting more aggressive. His axe came dangerously close multiple times, tearing through her clothes and leaving shallow cuts on her skin. Her breathing grew heavier. Her body felt like it was on the verge of collapse. But she didn't stop. She kept fighting, kept searching for an opening. The wolf grew angrier as she continued to evade him, while the monkey mascot bounced around excitedly, narrating every moment with his camera still rolling. Allison wasn't just running aimlessly, she was looking for a chance. And then she saw it. The wolf swung too high, leaving his torso unguarded. With every ounce of strength left in her body, Allison drove the crowbar into his stomach. The metal punctured deep. Blood gushed from the wound as the wolf staggered, clutching his abdomen with a pained growl. But he wasn't done yet. With his last bit of strength, he swung his axe once more, grazing Allison's shoulder. She screamed, blood pouring from the wound. But she didn't back down. She yanked the crowbar free and struck again, this time slamming it into his head with full force. The wolf's mask shattered, revealing the face of a man beneath, his eyes filled with pure hatred. But he had nothing left. He collapsed to the ground, blood pooling beneath him. To make sure he was dead, Allison raised the crowbar, ready to drive it straight through his skull. "Stop!" The monkey mascot's voice cut through the air. Allison froze, and it was a damn good thing she did, because she had just noticed the red laser dot aimed right at her forehead. Shit. I almost got myself killed. The thought hit her like a brick. So there really are snipers. She let the crowbar slip from her fingers, breathing hard, its surface coated in blood. She turned to see the monkey mascot, still grinning, still holding his camera. "Look at that, folks," he cheered. "Our little girl won. This show just keeps getting better." Allison said nothing. She just stood there, body trembling from exhaustion and pain. "Well then," the monkey continued, strolling toward her. "You saved your friend for now. But the real question is, how long can you keep going?" He eyed her wounds. "That's a nasty cut." Allison didn't care. She staggered toward Ben, helping him to his feet despite her own battered body. This round was over. But they both knew. The game was far from finished. Wow, folks, that was quite the match. Who would have thought our little survivor girl would come out on top? The monkey paced back and forth, then turned the camera toward his own masked face. "I bet a lot of you lost money on that one. You must be pissed." He let out a loud, twisted laugh, vile and mocking. But that's how it goes, dear audience. No rigging here, our survivor really did win. And to keep things fair, we'll be following the rules, execution time. The monkey then turned to the clown mascot, signaling once more.